Hey everybody, welcome back. This week on the podcast, on the vlog, we are focusing on nasal health, nasal support. Why that's important, you can go back and listen to the previous episode where I go into a little bit more depth of what's going on in our bodies elementally in full. Basically, a lot of us already know this without understanding elements or Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine, because we can see it very evidently on our skin. We have a lot of dryness that starts to happen in the fall and going into winter. So very often what we experience is very irritated nasal passages. As they become irritated, then there's going to be more of a tendency to be susceptible to whatever bugs might be flying around in the air. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting the integrity of the immune system. And I talked about nausea oil on the previous podcast as something that we can do preventatively. What I'm going to talk to you about today is nasal steams. And this is something that I feel, yes, can be preventative, but is actually more of something that you would do when you are fighting off some kind of an infection or a bug, when you want to support your body, have a little bit of creature comfort, and see if you can push some of that stuff out that is stuck in there, right? Okay, so nasal steams, very easy to do. All you need to do is boil some water, and then you need to track down a bowl, a towel, and either some herbs or essential oils that are good for the respiratory tract. Now, this is one place where I will prefer to recommend essential oils over herbs, although herbs can be very helpful and supportive within a steam as well. But I'm going to talk to you about this today just like we're going to use essential oils, because a lot of people will have essential oils for respiration, but they may not have the same sorts of plant forms of those sorts of plants just commonly around. So we're going to do a nasal steam. We boil the water. Then what we're going to do is put the water in a bowl and let it cool down a little bit. You don't want to use the water right after it's boiled to do a steam, because it can actually burn. The steam can actually burn your face and your nasal passages, and that's the exact wrong thing. The thing that we're trying to avoid is to cause any further irritation. Okay, so let it cool down for a few minutes and then put it on a table or something where you can sit down and you can be relatively comfortable while you do this. To that, you're going to add a very small amount of drops of your essential oil. And there's some things I would recommend as essential oils to do this, and there's some things that I won't recommend to do this. And I'll explain those in a minute. But for right now, you're just going to put 1 to 2 to 3 drops of your essential oils of choice on top of that water. Then you're going to sit down and you're going to take the towel, put it over your head and the bowl, and just breathe in as much as you can, as well as you can. You might have to breathe in through your mouth. If you're really stuffed up, it's okay. It will still start to get into your nasal passages from the back side and start to break up things and help to loosen things up for you. If you can breathe in it all through your nose, definitely attempt to do that, even if you can't do it consistently. So maybe you're going to take a couple of breaths through your mouth and then maybe one through your nose as well as you can, and then alternate back and forth. The important thing to pay attention to while you're doing your steam is that you don't want your skin or your nasal passages to feel like they're getting burned or irritated in any way. If you start to feel that, it's because either your water is too hot or the essential oils that you've chosen are too strong, or you've been doing it too long. So this is the number one thing I will say, mistakes that I have personally made over and over and over with doing steams, is that you will do that, you'll want to do them too long. I now feel that about 10 minutes is sort of, for my body, the sweet spot with steams. If I go longer than that, I actually end up drying out my nasal passages more, or I will irritate them. Almost like when you burn your tongue on a hot drink, you can almost like burn the inside of your nasal passages with too hot of a steam or too long of a steam. Too short of a time, and your body won't have a chance to really take in the steam and the essential oils and get the benefit of that. But I find with people, the tendency is to want to go too long because they're just so desperate for something to help you feel better and to get rid of some of that congestion, and also because it feels really good. And just like one drink is good, 2 drinks maybe 3 drinks bad for a lot of us. It's the same thing with the steam. Too short, it's not going to do much for you. Right in the middle, perfect. Too long of a steam and you've actually set yourself back. You might actually have done more harm than good in that case. So stop your steam while it still feels really good to you, even though you might not want to, because it feels relaxing and feels good. The thing to know about this is that you can go back later in the day and do a steam again. This isn't like a one time a day and then you're done. You could do a couple of steams, maybe up to 3 nasal steams a day, and still be okay, as long as you're keeping the length of time rather short while you're doing that steam. Now, as you're doing the steam, there's going to be sometimes all kinds of gross gunk that comes out, and that's okay. It's totally normal. And sometimes you won't notice the benefits until a little while later, and then all of a sudden you're wanting to blow your nose. You're wanting to get rid of some of that gunk that's finally loosened up in there and had some time to think about it. As my dad says, it's had some time to think about it, and now you can get rid of some of it. And sometimes if you have a real pernicious congestion, or you are real prone to infections in the sinus passages, if that's just your body's constitution, it might take a little longer to start to notice the benefits of this. And you may have to be a little bit more consistent, or maybe go a little bit slower with it, but do it for longer periods of time, meaning more days in a row. So a little less time with your steam, but more days in a row. Almost all the people that I talk to that have tried nasal steam, no matter how congested they were, have found some relief from it, because not only are we benefiting the breathing in our nasal passages, but we're also benefiting the respiration of the rest of our respiratory tract, which is awesome. Which brings me to, what kind of essential oils do you want to use for this type of a steam? Okay, so ones I would recommend and ones I would not recommend. I'll start with the not recommend. The not recommend ones would be ones that are real hot essential oils. So with this, I would put things like spicy essential oils, especially cinnamons. Other spices may end up being too spicy for your nasal tract. And then also I would put something as strong as oregano in this, except if you really, really, really need that specific type of support. Oregano essential oil is an essential oil, even as an aromatherapist, that I use extremely infrequently because it is so, so potent. Instead of those, try these ones first. So if you go back into the podcast, into the vlogs, you'll see that I've done a number of different episodes about essential oils for lung support. All of the ones that are helpful for lung support are also going to be supportive for our nasal passages, because that's really all the same, like one connected system in our body. So the ones that I would recommend are any essential oil blends that you have for respiration. So this one's called Airway. There's lots of different companies that have blends. And honestly, sometimes I just say grab a blend when you're sick, because sometimes that congestion and those sinus headaches can just be so intense that you don't want to have to think at all about the thing. But if you're in a place where you want to think about what essential oils you put in there, the specific family of essential oils that we're going to be reaching for, there's really 2 of them. One is any tree essential oil, so any conifer species is going to be especially helpful with this. Silver fir would be a favorite, one that's very mild. I also love pinyon pine. Many choices here. A lot of people like cypress. It's not one that I'm personally drawn to, but a lot of people really like that. And then along with that, any of the ones that would fall into the antimicrobial category. So that would be any of the eucalyptus species, as well as one called Nyaouli. You could also group tea tree essential oil into that as well. So if you think of those essential oils and you think about what you feel when you breathe them, when you're not congested, you notice that there's a real coolness to it. It's sort of that menthol smell to them. That's one of the things that helps to get in there and start to break up that congestion. That, along with the steam itself, that helps to bring warmth in to the body, that helps to lubricate and get things moving for you. Some other options for steams, it would be really nice to mix in the citrus, especially the less sweet citrus smells like lemon. Lemon is an essential oil that even energetically we use to break up congested energy and to clear space. And so by extension, it would be interesting to see how lemon would work either on its own or in conjunction with other essential oils to help to break up that congestion. And one final one that I will mention that I have personally used and recommended for severe sinus congestion, not infection, but congestion, is rosemary. Rosemary is a culinary herb, but if you think of the experience of smelling rosemary, it does have some of that cooler sort of menthol feel to it. What I like to do is mix rosemary and lemon, maybe a drop or two of each in a steam, and try that first. Then maybe later in the day or the next day, I'll do a steam with some of the conifers. And then maybe later in the day or the next day, I will do a steam that's just strictly eucalyptus and maybe circulate between those three options. Or maybe you're going to find something of those three that works really well for you, that your body's like, that's kind of your go-to every time you need that support. The point is to listen to your body and figure out what works for you in those situations. So I hope that was helpful to learn a little bit about the things that we can do to support our nasal passages, something that we don't really think a lot about or talk a lot about, but that are so critical to maintaining our metal element, our armoring, so to speak, that we really need to strengthen in the fall and the winter. Any questions or comments about this, please post them below. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you're listening on your podcast app, I always appreciate those 5-star reviews, and I will see you next time.